this here. All right. Get my blanket. It's chilly in this room. Let's give it just a minute and let some people hop on. Okay. Hey, you guys. Hello, hello. I did not go on the moderator chat and let anyone know that I was going live because I just now got done doing my research, and I have decided, so for those of you guys who do not know, tomorrow I'm going to be filming, and Thursday you guys are going to be getting my thoughts on the trial of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and the murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. We are going to divulge a little bit into Goldie John's trial as well. Hey guys, I missed you too, Summer. It's been so long. Hey guys, we are going to divulge a little bit into Goldie John's trial. And obviously we're going to talk a little bit about how he plays in the murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. There are just a few cliff notes that I want to mention, and so I figured that I would do this live and let you guys know. I like to do my true crime videos a specific way. You guys are really enjoying them, so I'm going to continue that, and I'm going to continue just giving you guys the cliff notes in these lives. So if you're really invested in a case, if you want to know the cliff notes, just always know that there is a live that goes with each true crime video. The Jodi Arias murder of Travis Alexander, which was the first episode, there is 2 live videos with cliff notes on it. If you want to go back and watch the 2 previous lives, or not the last live, but the 2 before that, there are cliff notes to that case in particular. This live here is going to be the first live full of cliff notes that I'm going to do for this case in particular. And then after I see what questions you guys have on Twitter and TikTok and here on YouTube after the video comes out, I will then do a Q&A style cliff note video after that video comes out. So I'm not going to divulge in the guts of the story and what happened in this case. That's something that you're going to have to wait for Thursday. I just do want to say thank you to Heather. She was the first one to email me on what case you guys wanted to hear about next, and wanted to hear me break down. I'm sure you guys have heard about this case. It was another nationwide spoke about case. It was very intriguing and something that me personally, I haven't really heard about in a murder trial before. This has to do with Munchausen's by proxy. It also has to do with crimes of people actually, this mother fraudulently using her daughter and creating these illnesses, which we'll talk about how she was able to do. There's a couple reasons, but we'll talk about that on Thursday's video. How she was able to fraud these people and have them actually believe that Gypsy had these illnesses. I mean, it even goes even so far as getting feeding tubes surgically put into Gypsy. And, you know, Gypsy was wheelchair bound, and Dee Dee was lying to Gypsy about her age. The reason why, though, and the reason I want to do this live is I'm not going to be including any clips, nor am I going to really be talking about the Hulu, and I'm going to call it show, The Act. The reason is so much of it is so far off base, the actual story and what actually happened between Dee Dee and Gypsy and the story as a whole, okay? Really heavily influences on Gypsy's side of things, and said actually was a different way. Heavily talked about these neighbors that lived across the street. There is a lot of other things that happened in this case that nobody's talked about. I have watched so many YouTubers talk about this case, and I found one who spoke about something that I actually found in this case. Because I went to YouTube and I looked it up to see if anybody said what I'm going to say in this video, and nobody but one other. That means that me and one other YouTuber has watched the full trial of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. That is a super important part of these true crime documentaries. I think what a lot of people do is they watch the shows or docu-series on a certain case, and they think that that is everything that has to do with the case. That is incredibly, incredibly wrong, okay? There's a lot more that happens in these cases, and we're going to talk about the Dr. Phil interview, because I do think that Dr. Phil... While I do think that Dr. Phil does believe that Gypsy is innocent, and I do believe that Dr. Phil, just by the way that he interviewed her, you can really tell that he's wanting Gypsy to say, I did this because I felt she deserved it, or something like that. You can really tell that in that interview. Hi, Marina. We are going to include clips simply because you really get to hear Gypsy's thought on what happened now. And there are going to be, and this is for people who like to follow along with what I'm saying in the video, I'm going to include my main resources, okay, in this video. So if you want to follow along with different articles or videos that I'm going to resource, you can do that. I will say that some of the heavy-hitting moments in the case and what happened in this story, they are highlighted in the show The Act. However, a big part is missed because they don't really cover the trial, because the trial had just really come to fruition when The Act came out. And I'm not going to say that The Act didn't do their part. I'm not going to say that they didn't study the case, because I'm sure they did. They turned things around to make it more entertaining, which is what they did with the Anna Delvey story. I mean, it's what they do, okay? They want people to watch it, and they want people to stay intrigued, and they want people to tune in the next week when the next episode comes out, and the next episode. Which does make sense, and I totally get that. But I'm not going to be resourcing The Act. So I just wanted to put that out here. Almost all of the true crime stories that I've seen on Gypsy Rose, almost all of them resource The Act. And I just think that's foolish. Unless it was like a pre-recorded documentary that Gypsy and Dee Dee filmed together, I would never resource a documentary, because there's always going to be fiction in it, quite simply because they want to keep the audience intrigued, okay? So the very first article that I am resourcing is a timeline article. I like to do this because a lot of times these reporters, this one's done by Bailey Benningfield, and I love her. She's a really good true crime author, and she writes for The Ranker. Now, she uploaded this on March 29th of 2021, which means that it is heavily updated, okay? Meaning that she's updating this annually. So she's probably going to update it again in 2024. That's when Gypsy Rose will be let out of prison. But this is ranker.com, and it is the list or the timeline of this shit show, okay? Coming from the very beginning, and when I say the very beginning, early 1991, when Dee Dee and Gypsy's dad, Rod, divorce. Okay? So even before anything. Okay? Before anything really happened. So that is the first article that I'm going to be resourcing. And a lot of my bullet points come from this article. However, this article does also miss one important detail that I'm going to include, that was included in the trial. The trial was also televised. Both Gypsy Rose's and Goldie John's, they were both televised. So I've watched both trials, and Gypsy did speak on the stand at Go-D John's hearing as well. So if you are interested and you want to watch those, both are on YouTube. I believe Gypsy Rose's testimony at Scott Go-D John's hearing is about 2 to 3 hours long. So, you know, just keep in mind, the hearing, those videos are very long. So just keep that in mind. And if you want to notate, I always say, watch it on your TV or on your laptop or on your phone and take notes on a laptop or a computer. That way you can, you know, keep up with everything. Okay, the other article that I am going to be resourcing. Okay, so I told you guys the Dr. Phil interview. There are about 4 clips from that interview. I am editing the video, so you can watch the full interview with Dr. Phil on YouTube. However, I edited it myself into individual clips, and there's going to be 4, which are super important and relevant. And you can watch the entire interview on Dr. Phil's YouTube channel. So if you just go to Dr. Phil's YouTube channel, there is a whole reel of him and Gypsy Rose having their interview together. Okay, the other article, these are the only 2 articles that I'm really going to be resourcing. The rest are clips from the trial. Is a Oxygen true crime article. Let's see here. This was written by Gina Tron with Oxygen. And it's titled From Wheelchairs to Teeth Removal, a list of all of Gypsy Rose Blanchard's unnecessary medical procedures. Now, the reason that I'm including this article is because this is something that I want to heavily focus on. There was a bucket load of medications, surgeries, and diagnosis that Gypsy Rose was put under from literally from very young, I believe 4, 3 months old, sorry. Her first diagnosis was at 3 months old when she was diagnosed with sleep apnea. Shortly after that was asthma, okay? So she was being diagnosed with things as a baby, okay? But I wanted to get, if I could, a full list to put in the video, and I got that in order of what they happened as best as we can tell, because as you know, if you know this case at all, Gypsy and Dee Dee originally lived in Louisiana before they went to Wisconsin, okay? And when they were in Louisiana, Hurricane Katrina happened. So supposedly it's the case, all of Gypsy Rose's medical records were destroyed with Hurricane Katrina. So when they moved, basically Dee Dee was able to go to the doctors and say, okay, well, she has muscular dystrophy, she has asthma, she has sleep apnea, you know, she has seizures, which is what caused Gypsy to lose all of her teeth. That is another huge question that I got on Twitter. A lot of people don't know that, but Dee Dee was having her treated for these seizures, epilepsy. Therefore, that medication, if you don't need it, your body starts to like take from your body, okay? And so it was taking the calcium out of Gypsy's body and was causing her to lose teeth. So I did cite this article in particular because it does have all of those illnesses that Dee Dee claimed that she had, medications, surgeries, and it talks about the doctor who would call Dee Dee out on her shit and who would have the state come out to Dee Dee's home and question Gypsy on, can you walk? You know, and this wasn't the only person who would call out Dee Dee on her shit. There would also be an anonymous person that is spoke about in every single article. This person wanted to stay and remain anonymous. However, the state was able to pull this person as a witness and get some information. So if you've seen the trial, you know who this person is, but if you haven't seen the trial, you wouldn't know who this person was. It was a neighbor, okay, who lived with them, and Gypsy had become good friends with the daughter. They are heavily talked about in the act, and the daughter told her mother, like, hey, Gypsy can walk, like full on can walk. And so this mother called the state anonymously and told them, like, hey, you know, this girl told my daughter that she can walk, that nothing's wrong with her, you know, blah, blah, blah. And the state goes out there, and Dee Dee was a professional liar. And a lot of Dee Dee's lying and psychological stuff came with the Munchausen by proxy. I also did a lot of reading on Munchausen's by proxy, just because I believe if you don't have something, it's really hard for you to come to terms with and understand where someone's coming from. But Dee Dee, in her mind, it's like, it's almost like hypochondria times 10, okay, times 1,000. And in Dee Dee's case, it had been untreated her whole life. So from the moment that Gypsy was born, she immediately started treating Gypsy for all of these things. And I would hope, you know, I couldn't imagine just putting my kid on all this shit. Like, I couldn't imagine putting my child through this. But I would like to think that she thought that, oh, well, if I give Gypsy all this stuff, you know, for these things, in my mind, because from what I've read about Munchausen's by proxy, is in your mind, you genuinely think that someone has these diseases and illnesses. So I think that she was trying to either A, prevent Gypsy from getting these diseases and illnesses, or B, she was just a complete scam con artist and knew what she was doing the whole time. We will never truly know Dee Dee's side of things, and quite honestly, I think that had this ended a different way, let's say, you know, Goldie John did not unalive Dee Dee, and maybe he only wounded her, and we were able to get a testimony from Dee Dee. I believe either, you know, if it was that scenario, I believe that we probably wouldn't have gotten the truth anyways, because it has been proven by so many different people's testimonies and, you know, just what they've had to say in interviews about Dee Dee, that Dee Dee was a liar. You know, going way, way, way back, Dee Dee was a liar. You know, and Dee Dee had been in trouble before Gypsy was even born, and went to jail and shit. When Gypsy was a baby, went to jail over check fraud and shit like this. So, like, Dee Dee had been in the shits, okay? So I don't even know if we would have known the truth had things ended different, or, you know, the only way we would have known this case is if either it was attempted or murder. Unfortunately, that's just the way the world spins. Had, you know, Gypsy ran away, and Dee Dee knew she couldn't file a police report, because if she filed a police report, Gypsy could have said, I can walk and stand up. You know, I can walk. This bitch is nuts. You know what I'm saying? So I think Gypsy, you know, she had been brainwashed, and which we're going to get into this in the video on Thursday, but I think it's clearly, without even saying, that Gypsy was brainwashed. Because had Gypsy actually spoke to someone who wasn't diagnosed with any type of mental illness, which Goldie John had been, I think that they would have told her, look, go out in public with her, stand up and be like, yo, I'm good. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I've seen my Medicare card. I am not 15. I'm 20 almost. Like, this bitch here off the meds, okay? I don't need to be, she need to be on the med. Give me the fuck ASAP. You know what I'm saying? Like, someone, if she would have spoke to someone who knew the shits, I think that she could have gotten out of this in a much different situation. I will also say that because of the way that she was treated like a baby her whole life. She was lied to about her age for her entire life. I think that that also is grounds for, you know, brainwashing as well. And I think that in this situation, I think that it's safe to assume that Gypsy, at the time of her mom's murder, you know, now she's been in prison for almost 10 years. Obviously, now she spoke to people and, you know, seen, fuck, you know, there were a lot of different things I could have done aside from this. But unfortunately, she was conversating with someone who had already been diagnosed with mental illness. And, you know, it's just an unfortunate situation, you know. And also, if, I don't know if they spoke about this in the act, but Gypsy actually tried to run away with another person who was way older than her, like years before Goldie John even came into the picture. She met him at like a Comic-Con. And, you know, that's something that Gypsy talks about a lot in her interviews, is her favorite thing to do was to escape. Was to read these comic books and to watch these Disney movies about these princesses who get rescued by the prince. And I think that that's what Gypsy really truly wanted. She wanted someone to rescue her. And so the first guy did what a sane person would do, get her away from the situation. However, Dee Dee would come and get Gypsy. And I don't know the full story of why this guy ran off, but I think that Dee Dee pulled some manipulation. Like, I think, you know, or Gypsy was so brainwashed she just went back home. I don't know. But if when we do this video, and when you watch it on Thursday, you'll see I'm going to talk about Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. Now, there were other plans that would be talked about by Gypsy and Goldie John. One of which was arson. They also, in means of, yes, I seen the act. That's what I'm talking about. Hulu's The Act. I'm not going to be referencing it, you guys, because while they do, let's look at it this way, okay? Say you're coloring in a coloring book, okay? They don't stay inside the lines, if you get my meaning, okay? So while the picture is still there, they're not coloring inside of the lines, so it does not make sense. Do you get my metaphor here? They are an entertainment company, production company, okay? They have a streaming service. Therefore, they are going to fine-tune whatever documentary or story they're trying to cover. They're going to spin things to make it more exciting so that we come back next week and continue to watch the act. So I'm not going to be referencing as a resource the act. However, I am going to mention it in the video simply because there is a Hulu documentary on the act. Just the way that they say things is not necessarily in the right order at all, and they spin things for their narrative, and they create characters that don't necessarily matter that much. For example, the neighbors across the street. They did not have that much of a true, you know, main character highlight in Dee Dee and Gypsy's life. It's not that important to the actual case, which is what I'm covering. Let's see. I've been trying to get in touch with you. So proud of your new content. Love it. Love you. Sorry, guys. I have been having some issues here lately. I mentioned it briefly in the beginning of last week's true crime video. I am better. Things are good. But I've had to take a little bit of a break. And I know you guys understand that. I've seen, it was The Act, and no, that changed a lot. I was just saying they did put in there about Gypsy meeting a guy at the Comic-Con thing. Okay, cool. So it's in there, whatever. But I did watch several different episodes, and all of the other people who have covered this case, they heavily talk about the act. And I think the first thing that you need to watch, this is for YouTubers who want to talk about true crime, you need to watch the court hearings. If you can, watch as many clips. If they don't, air the court hearing. You need to watch as many news clips as you can. Luckily, in this case as well, they did air the hearing so you can watch it. Anyways, there were several other plans aside from stabbing Dee Dee that Gypsy and Goldie John had spoke about, okay? They spoke about arson. They spoke about a bang bang, if you get what I'm saying. They spoke about poisoning her. And in Gypsy's testimony at Scott Goldie John's hearing, she says that the reason that they didn't go with poisoning her is because it was hard to find a tasteless, odorless poison. And she also testifies under oath that Goldie John originally wanted to go with the machete. However, they were having Gypsy steal that weapon because there wasn't one sufficient enough in her home for Goldie John to use. So, which also, if you know anything about this case, Dee Dee had Gypsy stealing things in her wheelchair from a very young age. So Gypsy had been stealing. She thought it was normal. Like, she didn't even know that, you know, it wasn't an okay thing to do. Okay? So we're going to be uncovering some interesting things in Thursday's video. I think that a lot of you guys are going to be shook. And yeah, this was a really cool one to dive into. Very interesting to take a look into this particular case. It's interesting. I haven't seen a med list of everything Dee Dee was giving Gypsy. Also, all the donations, etc. Yes, I have a full list, okay? This article with Oxygen didn't have everything. They were close, but they didn't have everything that was in the actual medicine cabinet when police arrived on scene to investigate the murder of Dee Dee. I was able to recover it from police records, okay? If you didn't know, once they're made public, they're public, bitch, okay? So I was able to get, I believe, all medications. I believe I was able to get everything. The donation list is extremely long, and it's also unknown because Dee Dee was receiving donations when they were living in Louisiana. So therefore, a lot of those records are gone. They're unrecoverable. However, it's said that she received somewhere around $10,000 or more when Dee Dee and Gypsy were living in Louisiana. So we will never truly know the amount of money and items and trips and plane tickets that were gifted to Dee Dee and Gypsy in Louisiana, but it is said that it's at least $10,000 or more. Okay, so I'm going to mention that in Thursday's video. We're going to go through all the trips and the gifts and shit like that, and all of the celebrities and organizations that were invested in this family. I mean, they would come out and check up on them. Like, are you all still good? Do you need anything? Does Gypsy have a surgery coming up? Can you guys afford it? Like, the fuck? Thank you, Mandy. I'm thought I was going to have to holler at you on this one, but I think I'm good on this one. By the way, if there's a case you guys want me to cover next week, be sure that you get your email in by this Saturday. Always every Saturday, I need your email in, and it's first come, first serve on that. So I have not received an email yet from nobody about a case for next week. So if there's one that you guys want me to cover, we've covered Jodi Arias and Gypsy Rose Blanchard. So if there is another that you guys want me to cover, it does not have to be a huge one. Matter of fact, I would love to have one that hasn't been spoke about so much, just to see if there's anything I can find that they can't. I just love that. But yeah, let me know. Yeah, do that for me, Mandy. That'd be awesome. Also, I've had a few of you guys on, I'm not going to go any more into Thursday's video. We're going to keep it simple and sweet and keep you guys guessing on it. But I have had a few of you guys want me to talk about different trials as well that don't have to do with murder. I'm curious to know what you guys are talking about, like what kinds of trials you guys are talking about. Also, I did receive a email of someone wanting me to speak about a case that happened in my area that was brutal. It was so devastating. I'm just not ready to talk about Shannon. I'm not ready to talk about Chris. I knew them, so talking about them in a true crime type of video on my channel, it's just too close to home for me. I can't go through the details. I went to those hearings and sat there while they were describing what they did to Shannon and what they did to Chris. And they're not Shannon Christensen and Chris Newsom to me. They were Shannon and Chris. They were my friends. I grew up with them. I've known them since they were kids. It is one of the most devastating murders in the Southeast of the whole. They were tortured. Shannon was tortured. I know you guys want it because you know that they come from here, but a lot of you guys might not know that they come from Halls. They come from my hometown. I knew them. I went to school with them. That's just not one up for discussion. I would love to do it for Gary, Shannon's dad. I would love to talk about it and, you know, spread the awareness because Gary is very much of keep the word of Shannon alive. I would love to do that, but as someone who knew her, I just can't right now. I can't, because what these videos involve is going into descriptive detail, and that's just something that I can't do right now when it comes specifically to Shannon. So, yes, Holly Bobo is another one. I did not know Holly, but my sister did. Or not Holly Bobo. That wasn't Holly Bobo. Hold on. What was her name? Hold on a minute. Emma Walker. Emma Walker is the one I was thinking of. I don't know about the Holly Bobo. Emma Walker is one that I will do. I didn't know her per se, but she was killed by her boyfriend. And she went to Central High School, which is literally, how far away would you say Central High School is, babe? 5 minutes down the road? 3 miles down the road. And that happened in 2016 too, the same year that Gypsy Rose killed Dee Dee. Let's see, Holly Bobo. Why am I not? That rings a bell. Darden, Tennessee. I don't know where Darden is. Was an American woman who disappeared on April 13, 2011 from her family home in Darden, Tennessee. Let's see, where's Darden, Tennessee? 38328. Let's see how far away it is from here. Let's see. Directions. It's 4.5 hours from me. Darden is. Our front yard. Went into unsolved for a long time. Huh. Okay. So Darden is near Lexington, Tennessee. So it's way past Nashville. Let's see, what big city is it near? It's close to Memphis, not far from Memphis. It's in West Tennessee. I hadn't heard of that case. Holly Bobo. I'll have to put that on a list. Yeah, but Shannon Christensen and Chris Newsom, they're not one that I want to talk about yet. Was her case eventually solved? A timeline. Okay, let's see. April 13, 2011, Holly is reported missing after her brother, Clint, said he saw her walking into the woods with a man wearing camouflage when she was supposed to take a test at school that morning. Holly's lunchbox is found on Bible Hill Road. Dolly quit. After nearly 2014 searching investigation by TBI, local law enforcement around Decatur County, Zach Adams, Dylan Adams, Jason Autry, and Shane Austin are all charged with the kidnapping, first-degree murder, and rape accusations related to Holly's disappearance. September 2014, Holly's remains are confirmed by TBI after ginseng hunters found a skull and other remains in the woods at Decatur County. Wow. Shane Austin is found unalive by unaliving himself. Wow. Dolly quit. That one's interesting. We might have to look into it. Dolly, come here. Come here. Anyways, let's see here. Holly was killed by a couple of boys she actually knew. Yeah, I just read an article. Apparently she knew all of them. But only one of them was tried because the other one unalived himself. So, anyways, guys, be looking for the Gypsy Rose video. It will be coming on Thursday. Yeah, that's it.